idea that we just have another function that calls the function we really want to call. But gosh darn it, this is bound to the wrong thing then too. Well, ES6 gave us a new syntax for creating functions. So you could have const say yeah equals function euro. New syntax, say nah. Instead of function, just put your parentheses and then an arrow. Equal sign greater than. Arrow functions. Who's seen arrow functions before? So it's a shorter syntax, which is nice when you have callbacks because they're all over the place and function just takes up too much space. But they actually work differently. The short version is arrow functions bind this the way you expect them to. So arrow functions always bind this to what it was in the surrounding context. And that travels with it even if it becomes an event handler. It no longer matters how it was invoked. This is going to be whatever it was where you defined it, basically. So if this thing instead used that syntax, so this is defining a new function, but it's a new function that has this bound the way we expect. And just to be sure, we could move prevent default up there if we wanted to. Now let's try it. All right, new error, that's progress. We're happy. Render property is not defined on line 24. Line 24, render property, this dot render property, right? This dot render property is not a function on line 24. What function are we in right here? Nope. This function right here. That's right. So we'll just make it an arrow function. No problem. So now all our callbacks are arrow functions. All our callbacks are arrow functions. Yeah. So arrow function is kind of the same thing as saying function with bind this at the end. It means, so whatever you pass into bind is what this will be inside that function. So if I say bind this, it'll mean whatever this is right here, that's what I want it to be inside that function. So whatever this is on line 4 where I define this arrow function, that's what this is going to be inside the function. And so for the most part, it just means it's going to be what you expect it to be.
And why did this dot not work? Well, like what we're trying to be getting like this,
Yeah, since it's being invoked as an event handler, and like this, so this callback down here too, we're not the ones calling this inner function, are we? It's getting called automatically by prop, by map.
Yeah.
And so it's not like setting it to an event target, but it's not setting it to what we want either. Anybody know what this is inside a function that isn't a method? Just any old function? It's the global object, window, which is completely useless for it to be. I mean, window's not a useless object, but if I want window, I'm going to say window. There's no value in having this set to window. But again, that 10-day sprint where Brendan Ikes wrote JavaScript the first time, that's how it worked. So we can't break it. We can't just change the way functions bind that thing. What we can do is introduce a brand new syntax. So we don't break old code, but new code we can write using the new syntax, and we don't run into those problems. So we're just going to use arrow functions kind of all the time, especially when we have callbacks. Make sense? Yeah, arrow functions. Yeah, Sam.
Can you explain what the issues we even were encountering were with using this?
Yeah, just a second. Let me see. What all did we do? Organize code in an object and use arrow functions. So the problem basically is we need to call other methods of this object from inside the object. So we need a way to refer to the object itself. And generally speaking, the way to do that is this. The problem is JavaScript is inconsistent with the value of this, and sometimes it isn't what you think it'll be. So the arrow functions give us a way to force it to be what we want. That's the long and short of what the original problem we're solving is. If you just get used to using arrow functions whenever you're using a callback, in other words, whenever you're passing a function to another function, most of the time that'll solve your problem. There will be links about this on the website for today. So, that'll go into more depth than maybe we have time for. So give those a shot, read those, see if it makes any more sense. Other questions, real quick? We are pretty much out of time.